everybody. A bit late on the news today, mostly because I had some stuff to do. So that's what that is. Not too many game announcements, things like that. A lot of industry news to get through, though. I guess it being April Fool's Week, nobody wanted to actually announce any games or anything like that, or certainly anything I was interested in. But we'll swap over. Just quickly check that we're good. Okay, we're good. So this was the big story this week, basically. Jason Schreier, who I've mentioned before on the channel, he released a kind of exposé, if you like, on Anthem, Bioware's Anthem, and essentially, why it didn't turn out great, despite having many years of development, and people are just not particularly thrilled about the game. So probably the biggest it's a hell of a thing to open with, but it wasn't even supposed to be called Anthem. Christ, it was called Beyond, right before they even went on stage to announce it. And they had t-shirts and everything for it. And we're like, we actually can't get the licensing for the word Beyond. Obviously. You can't just take an English word, although I guess they took an English word. But anyway, this expose basically goes on to detail, in great detail, because look at this fucking scroll bar. There's a lot of stuff here. But I can kind of give you a bit of a brief summary for it, but it basically boils down to mismanagement, as you might imagine. So the leadership of Bioware at the time of Anthem were kind of not willing to make decisions. They kept just ping-ponging back and forth, changing design, changing gameplay, changing environments, changing story, changing loads of things. They just kept doing it, not just going, this is what it is. And that's it. That's the end of it. Even the flying mechanic in Anthem, they kept taking it out, putting it back in, taking it out, putting it back in. It didn't become final until Patrick Soderlund, who was, I think, head of EA at the time, basically came in. He saw their demo, which was kind of shit. And he's like, this isn't what you told me it was going to be. You've got a month or something to show me something better. And they come back and they're like, oh, what can we do? Let's put flying in. That's fun. So they put the flying back in, and they show that to Patrick Soder, and he's like, yeah, that was cool. Do that again. So I guess that's what the game is now. So a lot of the developers on the team, on the project, they just didn't know what kind of game Anthem was going to be. It was meant to start off as a kind of survival thing, a party survival thing, which sounds a lot like No Man's Sky to me, and then eventually evolved into a shooter-looter like Destiny, but you weren't allowed to say Destiny around the office. And then they got necessarily saddled, but they're just kind of stuck with the Frostbite engine. And while the Frostbite engine looks really nice, it wasn't designed to do the things that Bioware wants it to do. It was designed for first-person shooters. It was designed for Battlefield. That's DICE made it. That's what it was designed for. And EA were like, we spent a lot of money on it, so we're going to make everybody use it. And the developers at Bioware have said, no, we decided to use Frostbite for Inquisition, but there's also in the background of EA basically saying that, no, we're gonna make you use it anyway. And then they had department heads moving in and out. Casey Hudson left, who was kind of head of the project. Then he came back right at the end while everything was on fire. It's just bad news. This is a great article. It's a very long read, but it's a good read, and you should, if you have time. There's the link there. It'll be in the description on the archive as well. But yeah, lots of big problems, and they're kind of throwing it back to Inquisition and Andromeda, Dragon Age Inquisition, Mass Effect Andromeda, having more or less the same problems. And there's a certain amount of arrogance from kind of Bioware's upper management. Just thinking, we can do it, we're Bioware, I don't think you're Bioware anymore, guys. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down here mostly to give you something to look at, because you just have my face in the tiny screen, and I keep forgetting that because I obviously have the big screen. But there's a lot here. I'm trying to find the update, which I guess is at the bottom. Must be. Oops, too far. There it is. So Bioware released a statement about the article, right as the article went public, which means, did they even have time to read it? And they more or less dismissed all the arguments that Jason made. They're like, no, we don't believe in tearing down individual party members, and we're committed to making the good product for the good customers and so on. John Walker here from Rock Paper Shotgun. I thought he left Rock Paper Shotgun. Anyway, he kind of goes into more detail about why their response was kind of bullshit, and it's just a really, really bad look for them. Again, this is a good summary and a good I guess it's an editorial or opinion piece, but yeah, you should read that too. But since then, and I don't have an article for it for some reason, but since then, Casey Hudson, who, as I said, left BioWare and then came back in, he's basically gone on to say, internally, like this was leaked, but he's like basically sent an email on yesterday, or was it Thursday? Anyway, to say, we've read the article, we agree with most of the things in the article, we need to address these problems, and there'll be more in an all-hands meeting on Monday. Now remember, that's internal. We weren't supposed to read that. Hopefully we'll get some kind of summary of what the all-hands meeting was, but again, we're kind of relying on leaks and developers just being pissed off at their management, which isn't exactly news, but like, it's bad to see this, and it's terrible to hear like the developers having this problem, but it's unfortunately not new. There are lots of, like, Rockstar had this problem with Red Dead Redemption 2. BioWare, of course, have had this problem with Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda. Crunch, basically, it's a problem, and mismanagement. Anyway, that was kind of the bigger news story this week, but we did also have some kind of horrible political things going on. But the European Commission's preliminary investigation finds Valve to be in breach of antitrust laws for geoblocking. Now, to be honest, this article doesn't really explain what the problem is, but Valve, along with Bandai Namco, ZeniMax, Capcom, Focus Home Interactive, and Koch Media, are in breach of geoblocking for prices. So what this means is, if you think about it, and there's potentially a North American audience here, you have a price set in the States and you have a price set in Canada, right? And if you actually did a currency exchange, you'd find that Canadians are actually paying a lot more. And if you went down South America, Brazilians in particular pay ridiculous money. Even with the exchange rate, pay ridiculous money for that. It's kind of the same in Europe, and it's not supposed to be, because we have the digital single market in Europe, which means it's all one market. Doesn't matter where you live. If you live in the EU, it doesn't matter. You should be paying the same price everywhere. And that's not happening. But it's not happening for Steam keys in particular. Not necessarily like games themselves. It's the keys that are being priced like this. And even then, it's only for a small number. Or at least, according to Valve, it's only for a small number. 3% of their catalog. And Steam's catalog is ridiculous. But even so, that shouldn't be happening. It's in contravention of EU policy for the digital single market. But the one issue that it does bring up is, if you force a single price across the whole market, not every country in the EU is as affluent as, say, Germany, France, the United Kingdom before they started the Brexit shit. You've got some less well-off countries in there too. So they're not able to price down for them. Or they are, rather, with geo-blocking. But if geo-blocking goes, everyone has to pay the same price. And publishers are going to want to get as much money as they can. So we could potentially price other countries out of the market. In a way, not out of the market, but they wouldn't be able to buy these products. And obviously, if they bring the price down, then more affluent countries could just go pay the smaller prices and whatever. So there's some issues here, but I mean, it is against the law, so something's going to have to change. And then we have the UK government, who apparently found time to do something else other than Brexit. Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo online services are being investigated by the UK government. They're being investigated for unfair business practices. So the business practices of Xbox Live, Nintendo Online, the PSN, PlayStation Plus stuff. It's basically say that they auto renew. They can change the deal whenever they want. You don't really have a choice in the matter. They can change the price whenever they want. And you don't really have a choice in the matter. So it's basically saying, what protections does the consumer or the end user have for these services? And the answer is zero, more or less. PlayStation Plus changed recently to kind of, they used to do 6 free games a month. You get 2 PS4s, 2 PS3s, and 2 PS Vitas. But now it's just 2 PS4 games. But you're paying the same price. And that price has gone up a couple of times. I don't use Xbox Live. I have no idea how they work. Nintendo Online have come back to say that the games that they give for the Nintendo Online, the kind of NES games that they do, aren't permanent. You know, they'll change. You won't always have access to them, even though you're still a Nintendo Online subscriber. So the consumer doesn't have any protections here because the deal can just change whenever. That's basically what they're saying here. But this is still currently under investigation, so who knows? Right, continue with the Epic Game Store shit. Borderlands 3 was announced last week, week before? I think it was last week. Or the week before. Anyway, was announced, and it is now an Epic Game Store exclusive for 6 months. So it comes out in September, and it will be Epic Game Store exclusive for 6 months, and so on. And this resulted in the typical gamer backlash, outlash? That's not the word. Outrage, that's the one. Where they were like, no, my exclusive. And you can kind of make fun of it in that way, but it's still not great. Like I said before, exclusives are not consumer friendly. They're publisher friendly because they get like a big stack of cash right at the start, and they get a decent market rate. No, anyway, Epic Game Store will I think it's 12% they're going with. I'm not sure, and Steam is like 30% or something like that. So they get a good deal, they get a good rate, and they get a big stack of money for making it exclusive right at the start. So good for them, but not for the players. You know, it's another launcher, which is one problem because there's like loads of launchers now. You've got Steam already. You've got GOG's launcher if you're getting stuff from them. You've got Origin's launcher if you want to play EA games. You've got the Uplay launcher if you want to play Ubisoft's games. You've got the Blizzard launcher if you want to play Activision Blizzard games. And now you've got Epic, which you probably have to have anyway if you wanted to play Apex Legends. But sorry, if you wanted to play Fortnite, Apex Legends is EA, of course. I don't know. I don't play those games. Don't look at me. You've got the kind of other problems in that the Epic Game Store itself is kind of threadbare. And I don't just mean for games. I mean for like services. Like they just got a search function and like brought it out as like, oh my god, we've got search now, guys. It's great. And everyone's looking at them going, how the hell do you not have search at this point? Anyway. But last week, Epic Games' Tim Sweeney said, we're going to stop doing the exclusive stuff at some point, only to say, nah, we're going to keep doing it. It's like, who are we supposed to believe? They're basically saying it's a publisher decision if they want to go with us, but, you know, that decision wouldn't be there if you weren't making the offer. So you are still trying to get exclusive. Anyway. These are the wrong way around. I meant to show this one first. Anyway, pretend you didn't see that one yet, because it messes up a joke later. So from last week, I think it was last week anyway. Sony were saying that they're not gonna provide digital cards for digital games, physical cards for digital games in like GameStop and whatever other game shop you go to. GameStop's the only one we've got here. So anyway, the little cards that would say like, here, download the digital version of whatever, or this game that's only digital, or that's digital only, and here's a card that you can pay cash for in the shop and then redeem the code online and what have you. Sony wants you to just do everything on the shop or on the PSN store. GameStop basically saying, lol, we barely ever sold any of them anyway, so whatever, we don't care. You can keep your cards. Gives us more floor space or whatever. Only to have this news come out where they've posted a massive loss. Not because of the cards, obviously, because that hasn't even come into effect. But the pre-owned stuff, people buying used games and so on, that's kind of tanked. And they really have no one to blame but themselves. Because they gave shit credit for people bringing back the games. You know, there's the classic kind of meme of, oh, I brought my entire game collection to GameStop of 50 games and they gave me $2, you know, and then proceeded to sell it for like 500. I can't exactly feel bad for you, GameStop, but on the other hand, they're the only game shop in town for me, so like, I'm glad they're getting this shit happening to them, but you know, if they go under, I'm in a bit of trouble. So kind of try to stay up, please. Anyway, so a little not necessarily lighthearted news, but kind of community news. So the subreddit games on Reddit shut down on April Fools. It wasn't an April Fool's joke kind of thing. They were more trying to highlight that the entire games community, particularly that subreddit, has just gotten super toxic. Now is the time to stymie the flow of regressive ideas and prevent them from ever becoming the norm. So they had a big post, a big sticky post there. I think it's still up, where they're basically saying, you know, stop being shits, everybody. We must closely examine our own communities in an effort to encourage acceptance and inclusion, to foster a healthy community in which we value empathy and respect. All great things. Comments they have to deal with on a daily basis, which include examples of transphobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, racism, and misogyny, along with pro-pedophilia and pro-rape. They're not good things. Could we not have them in our game community, please? For games that we play to have fun. We don't need this shit. So that's all that was. Or Games is a fairly popular subreddit, 1.7 million subscribers it says here. That's a lot of people. And then you have lurkers. I mean, I'm on it. I don't subscribe to it because I don't have a Reddit account. I just lurk. I'm in the shadows just lurking. But yeah, it's good that they're taking that stand. I know that April 2nd, the day after, they reopened the subreddit and they had a kind of big, again, sticky discussion about it. I don't know how that went. I don't know if there was a big backlash or not. I didn't hear about it if there was. But again, I'm not like a member or anything, so I wouldn't be up to date on that. But maybe. Hopefully they didn't. Hopefully people are like, yeah, this is a good idea. Okay, some actual lighthearted news. Fallout 76 player mailed bobby pins to Todd Howard. So Todd Howard being creative director for Fallout 76. So this goes back to, he's kind of running pain in the ass for Fallout 76 players. Bobby pins in Fallout are used as lockpicks, basically. And usually they don't weigh anything. So they don't take up inventory. They don't account towards your encumbrance, or if they do, it's very little. But for some reason, it was always put down as, where is it, 0.1 pound per bobby pick. Bobby pin, lock pick. That's what I meant. Bobby pick, lock pin, whatever. So if you're carrying like hundreds of them, which you would be, because why not? You're just gonna pick shit up. You know, they end up weighing more than your armor or something, which is obviously ridiculous. You could let like 100 bobby pins in your hand. That would be fine. You'd probably carry them no problem. But yeah, they've patched it to take the weight away so that you can carry as many as you want, and then they repatched it to put the weight back in, and then suddenly people are like, after the patches, I can't move because I'm carrying so many bobby pins. But some people sent from us, so there's a quote from Todd Howard. Some people send letters, some of those are very creative. I got a box of bobby pins the other week that said, weigh these. Whoever sent that was the most creative letter I got. So it was kind of funny, but also, you know, this like frustrations for Fallout 76 players because they keep changing things or making mistakes, if you like. So the last thing we're going to look at here, Danny Dyer pack for Rage 2. So these are kind of, they're selling, they're using game currency to do it, but there's a kind of special, I guess, merchant in Rage 2 who sells these kind of cheats. They're not really cheats so much as just kind of fun changes to the environment. You're not buying them in the sense that you're paying money, you know, you're buying them with in-game currency, whatever gold, whatever the currency happens to be for Rage 2, I don't know what it is. Bottle caps, who knows. So we're going to watch the trailer. If you're not familiar with Danny Dyer, he's got a kind of Cockney accent. He's got like a geezer thing, if you're familiar with UK slang. Anyway, it's funny. I haven't actually seen this trailer yet, but I've seen a couple of GIFs from it, so this should be hopefully hilarious.
Peggy 18.
You fucking want some? Proper naughty. Get your nut down, son. I live for this mode. Need a light, son? Walk it off. You insured? Just checking. Look at them fucking barnets. That's gotta hurt your hand. Ta-da. Fucking hell, did you see that? Mate, sort it out. Absolutely shattered. Dodge that, you muppet. Do love a bit of chaos, me. Well, now I've seen everything.
Okay, that should actually be hilarious, so that's fun. YouTube, god damn it, you keep messing me up. Go back to camera mode. So that was the news for this week. Again, not too many game announcements. I'm not sure why, just whatever, or not game announcements for myself anyway. For the channel, I am looking at doing a kind of regular stream, so I'm just looking for a game that I can just play from start to finish in, segments for the Twitch stream. So I'm looking at maybe Rogue Galaxy, which is a PS2 JRPG that not too many people know about because it came out right after the PS3 launched. So there were, for me, some pretty big games that came out in that window for when PS2 development more or less stopped and the PS3 started. So there's an overlap there for when the PS3 came out and when good PS2 games were still coming out. God of War 2 being one of them, came out right at the end of the PS2's heyday, if you like. It's good. I really like it. The other one I'm thinking of is Darksiders, the original. I have the War Mastered edition that I just want to get the trophies for. So it's somewhat indulgent for me, I guess, but it's a good game. I think it's fun. They're the ones I'm looking at, but I'm open to suggestions for other ones if you have them. Cool. 2 games coming out next week. Falcon Age, which is a first-person falconry game, so that should be weird and interesting. And the Phoenix Wright trilogy, which I've never played. I've never played any of the Phoenix Wright games, so that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I am planning to stream both of them. Planning to. My plans always fall apart, or not always fall apart, but they more than is comfortable fall apart, I guess. That's what I'm looking to do. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for games to play start to finish on the stream, just let me know. I will consider them. I will consider all options. I won't necessarily do it, but I'll consider it. Anyway, that's the news stream for today. There may or may not be a stream later on today. I haven't decided yet. If there is, it'll be Rogue Galaxy or Darksiders. It'll be one of them. I'll just flip a coin. I'll pick one. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.